John Bierman from the Unity of Wimberley. I want to thank you so much for being here this afternoon. It's just a wonderful turnout and celebration of life for Merilyn Sue Barney. So on behalf of Rafael and the entire Barney family, I want to welcome you to this memorial service. So can we begin with prayer? Sweet, sweet Spirit, thank you for the life of Merilyn Barney, for the love that she represented to her friends and family. We know now that she is in your loving care, in your loving arms. We ask that you give her this message, that we love her, we miss her, and we wish all the best for her continued journey in another form, in her spiritual form. We're so grateful for her life, and we bless now her family, and we ask that, Sweet Spirit, you be with her family, be with Raphael and her loved ones, and comfort them. Allow them to know that Merilyn's life continues on. Although we may not see her, her life continues on. And we are so grateful for that. Thank you, God. So it is. Amen. I often wondered about celebration of life. Someone in Unity, we call it making their transition. Someone passes from our sight into the next experience of life. And I always wondered about that term, celebration of life. And then it occurred to me that I'm talking tomorrow about being fully human and fully spiritual. So the spiritual part of us celebrates the life of Merilyn Barney. And the human part of us misses her and wishes that she was still with us. So we have to embrace both. We have to embrace both. And we know that she is on a spiritual journey. And we also know that when she was here with us, she did so much. Merilyn Sue Barney, a beacon of light and love, was born on January 6, 1952 in Shreveport, Louisiana. Good old Cajun gal. She was born to Charles Barney and Frances Barney. Merilyn's journey through life was marked by her unwavering dedication to guiding and uplifting others, as demonstrated by this wonderful group that's gathered here today to celebrate her life. Merilyn's life was a tapestry woven with rich experiences and profound impacts. Her family travels took her to Oklahoma, Canada, Germany, and Israel, where she discovered her life's mission to be a guiding light to others. And what a wonderful mission that is. This mission shone brightly through her work at Berlitz, which is where she taught English, her fundraising efforts at Memorial Home, and her opportunities and work as assistant director for volunteer coordinator at MD Anderson Hospital, and her professional contributions at the Holocaust Museum in Houston. She had quite a diverse and a lot of variety in who she served. Her final mission was teaching English as a second language to students from diverse backgrounds. As a teacher, Merilyn left an indelible mark on her children. Many of her continued to stay in touch, cherishing the wisdom and the kindness that she imparted. Any of us that have been in class or know Merilyn as her students, would you just raise your hands? I know there's lots of them out there. Well, at least one. Thank you for being here. In her later years, Merilyn devoted herself to caring for her parents in their final chapter of their life, and also while pursuing her passion for quilting. All these quilts you see displayed here were Merilyn's work. Just incredible, beautiful work. She created a haven for creativity and community at Wimberley Stitch Studio and the Turquoise Treasure, a quilter's retreat. Her spiritual journey found a home at Unity of Wimberley, where she was an active member of the influential and powerful women's group. Would all the people that are part of the women's group raise their hand? All right, there we go. Thank you. Merilyn's wanderlust and love for adventure took her to many corners of the world, sharing these experiences with her beloved husband, Rafael. Together, they marveled at the majestic beauty of Canada and the vibrant culture of Mexico. Merilyn was a force of nature, a radiant light whose generosity and care touched countless lives. Her lion heart and her twinkling eyes, you can see that beautiful smile in those twinkling eyes, will be fondly remembered and deeply missed by her friends and family. Of course, she's survived by her loving husband, Rafael, her brothers, Jerry Barney and his wife, Margaret, Randy Barney and his wife, Pat, her uncle, Donald Jenkins, her nephew, Justin Barney, and her nieces, Tracy, Carrie, Becky, and Liz. Can we just give them a round of applause? Merilyn's journey with Unity of Wimberley started with Rafael. Rafael had visited Unity of Houston and gone there, and he had become a member at Unity of Wimberley, and Merilyn kind of came over out of curiosity to Unity of Wimberley before I was there and wanted to see what it was like. Immediately, she appreciated the fact that Unity was non-denominational, that the lessons there were diverse and open-minded. And she immediately joined in. She and Rafael became members, and she had volunteered in almost everything you could possibly do there. She loved the Fellowship of Unity. She was welcome team member from 2023 until her passing. She attended the Unity Women's monthly gatherings and the annual women's retreat. She helped with Christmas decorating, the annual tag sale, and made it her mission to showcase a beautiful quilt made by the late Susan Crenshaw, which is now hanging in our foyer at the church. So you all have to come sometime and see it. Don't even have to stay for service, but come and see it sometime. So we miss our beloved sister, but we also know that she's in the hands of her Creator. Together, hand in hand, she's walking with her Creator, becoming all that she can possibly be in her spiritual, her true nature, which we believe in Unity is who we really are, that true spiritual nature. And so we do celebrate, and we are glad for her, but we also miss her. We miss seeing her on Sundays. We miss her light and her love. I want to conclude my remarks before I ask Rafael to come up with a poem by James Dillard Freeman, who is Unity's poet laureate. James Dillard Freeman had only one job in his entire life, and that was working for Unity. He's a well-known author and poet, and I want to read a poem that he wrote called The Traveler. And this is dedicated to Merilyn. She has put on invisibility. Dear Lord, I cannot see. But this I know. Although the road ascends and passes from my sight, that there will be no night. That you will take her gently by the hand and lead her on along the road of life that never ends. Along the road of life that never ends. And she will find it is not death, but dawn. I do not doubt that you are there as here, and you will hold her, dear. Our life did not begin with birth. It is not of this earth, and this that we call death is no more than the opening and closing of a door. And in your house, how many rooms must be beyond this one where we rest momentarily. Dear Lord, I thank you for the faith that frees. I thank you for the love that knows it cannot lose its own, that love, looking through the shadows, sees that you and she and I are ever one. So my heartfelt sympathies to your family, Rafael, and I would invite you, when you're ready, to come up and share a few words. Thank you.
Thank you all for coming to Merilyn's celebration of life today. It's good to be among others who have loving memories of such a bright soul. Merilyn and I were together for almost 30 years as we rode a fun roller coaster. I'll confess it was scary for me at times, as Merilyn had a damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead attitude towards life. You know. Life with Merilyn was like taking a joyride, but without the fear of getting caught, because Providence itself gave us the keys. I bought you tickets to a show determined to conjure a date for March 5th, 1995. 2 weeks before the event, I turned to a teacher colleague in the mailroom and asked her if she knew anyone who'd be interested in seeing a performance. She told me, "1 moment, please," rushed out of the mailroom and returned to give me Merilyn Barney's number. That first date was 8 hours long. Merilyn regaled me with exciting tales of the many places she had lived and traveled. And I found her to be a fascinating woman I wanted to know better. A second date followed, and then many more. We were married on her back porch 6 years after our first date. We took dancing lessons in Houston for a while and enjoyed every opportunity to dance. A funny memory was a trip Merilyn, her mother Frances, and I took to the lush and green Pacific Northwest, where her brother Jerry lives. We were booked at a B&B, and Frances wanted to try the bathtub on for size, and thankfully she was dressed, as we wound up having to pull her out. Merilyn showed me the beauty of the Canadian Rockies when we traveled there by glass-top train from Vancouver to see Banff, Jasper, Lake Louise, and other marvels of nature. We traveled to Montana, where a close childhood friend, Stacy Kiser, has lived for many years. We canoed the Flathead River there, I recommend not capsizing there or even exposing yourself to those frigid waters where even Merilyn thought it was too cold. We also traveled south of the border to Mexico, where the two of us had a great interest to see where some of her former students lived. On one of several trips to Mexico, we purchased many cultural objects. We also took in the beauty of the American Southwest while in Arizona and New Mexico. The life we built together was represented by creative projects such as the formation of a high school garage band, the expansion and remodeling of Wimberley Stitch Studio, in which Merilyn and others created many quilts of great beauty. Merilyn was the visionary project manager of the Turquoise Treasure, a retreat for quilters, before selling it a few years ago. I want to express my love and gratitude to my darling wife, Merilyn, for creating and acquiring everything of beauty in the homes in which we've lived. Merilyn was the most generous and loving person I have ever met in my life. Many of you gathered here can attest to that. It was demonstrated by caring for her parents until their passing in our home. I'll miss her adventurous spirit and smile, most of all her smile. It wasn't just on her lips, but in her eyes as well. If there's one thing I regret not telling Merilyn every single day, is this: I love you, my darling, with every fiber of my being. We both believe in an afterlife, and it is there that I hope to hug and hold her, as well as to be hugged and held by her forever. I want to extend my gratitude to Pat Barney, Carrie Barney, any other members of the Barney family, members of Unity, and Gail Wiley, who helped set up and give shape to this event. So I would like to take a moment now to give you time to reflect on what Merilyn meant to you. And please feel free to take 1 minute to share any thoughts you may have on how Merilyn may have inspired, influenced, or supported you in any way. So I'll ask different groups of people to please come up to the microphone and introduce yourself and share how you knew her. Funny stories are perfectly acceptable. So we'll start off with Jerry Barney and followed by Justin Barney.
I used to tell her she was my favorite sister, and that was not to be diminished by the fact that she was my only sister. I made some notes just because I wasn't sure how I was going to handle this, and I'm glad I hadn't. It's difficult to do this, but fortunately I had lots of warm, poignant, funny stories and memories to choose from. Merilyn, as you've already heard, was very smart, focused, had a good sense of humor, a lot of empathy and kindness. And those were, evident from a very early age. I envied Merilyn much of her life, including growing up. She had there were a couple of particular things. Merilyn's early contribution and ongoing contribution was to supporting our mother, because, as they said, we lived in West Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Canada, Germany, and then New York. And Mobile had a practice of reorganizing every 3 or 4 years and moving all of their engineers and managers to new locations. So we were uprooted 5 times at least and had to readjust to new places. And my mom had a particularly difficult time with it. But Merilyn's contribution, the reason Merilyn was, we used to say she was his favorite son, my dad's favorite son, because every place that they moved, Merilyn would lead the way in helping my mom adjust and socialize in those places. And she, of course, always adjusted and socialized wherever she went. So she was a great model for that. The other thing that I always envied about her was her role as an ESL teacher in Houston. And I think there's 1 or 2 of her old students that are here. My favorite story is that,
I'm just gonna stand up. Keep going.
okay. My favorite story is that they tell me that the first day of class each year, Merilyn would say, well, we've got some rules to go by in this classroom. And the first rule was don't kill the teacher. And then there were some other rules, and she would, when things get particularly tense in class sometimes, she'd say, what's rule number 1? They'd all say, don't kill the teacher, and that would break the tension. And that was the kind of thing, that's just a wonderful example of Merilyn's sense of humor, but focus on what you needed to do. And that basically, Merilyn was a teacher with a capital T. I was a teacher for a while. I was an okay teacher, but Merilyn was to be envied. She had incredible empathy for her students. They all loved her. And that's a lot of the memories that I have of Merilyn are being envious of how well she handled our father, our parents. She handled them all the way through to the end of their lives very well. And I'm extraordinarily grateful to have known Merilyn. And I'm gonna quit before I shake up.
Yeah, Rafael, thanks for calling me up. I appreciate it. I'll be quick. Merilyn to me was my dear Aunt Mimi. What I loved about her was she was a force of nature for sure, filled with so much love for people, and just a great conversationalist. You get with her and you would just chat for hours and never run out of things to talk about. It was amazing. I love her very much.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today to honor and remember my Aunt Mimi. We're gathered not just to mourn today, but to celebrate the beautiful and unique soul that she was and the positive impact that she had on all of us. Though her life ended too soon, I want to focus on the many ways that she touched our lives. My aunt had this incredible ability to make everyone around her feel loved and seen. Whether it was her infectious laughter or the way that she could tell stories to make you feel like you were right there with her, she had a way of connecting people that I will forever cherish. But life wasn't always easy for her. Like many of us, she faced struggles that weren't always visible to those around her. And while we may never truly understand the weight that she carried, it's important to remember that her pain doesn't define her. What defines her is the love that she gave us, the kindness that she showed us, and the moments of joy that she brought to our lives. I want to take a moment to acknowledge the difficulty she faced and to remind everyone today that mental health is something that we should always speak about openly and with compassion. My aunt was brave in her own way. She fought a battle that many of us didn't see, but it doesn't diminish the goodness that was in her heart. I know that she would have wanted us to remember the good times, the family gatherings, the laughter, the adventures. She was more than her struggles. And it's in those memories that we will hold her close. To my aunt, thank you. Thank you for the lessons that you taught us, for your love, for the ways you made the world a better place. Simply by being you. You will forever be in our hearts. Your spirit will continue to guide us. And as we move forward, let's honor her memory by showing kindness to one another, by being open about our own struggles, and supporting each other with the same love and care that she showed us. May you rest in peace, Aunt Merilyn. You will never be forgotten. Rafael, can you come up here for a moment? Merilyn's great nephew, Travis Taylor, and his partner, Allie Ham, have a gift for you. Allie is an artist in Houston, and she's made something for you. So beautiful. Beautiful, Allie. Beautiful. I love you.
My goodness, I'm not sure what I can add to this beautiful program and to the words that have been spoken, but just briefly, Merilyn and I were dear friends. I knew her mother before I knew her, and I was trying to remember how long ago that was that we came together, and it's been about 40 years, so it's been a long time and a wonderful ride, just like Raphael described. Frances was about 16 years older than me, and Merilyn about 9 years younger. And so we made an interesting trio, but we did a lot of things together, and we had such good times. We traveled some, and the three of us were we just played off of each other, and it was like everybody else's experience with her. It was pure joy. Merilyn would always plan the trip, of course. And we would sing, we would make up limericks, we would have a few beers, we would roll down the road and just enjoy life. As a matter of fact, I was trying to think, I've been on several trips with them, and I can't even remember exactly the trips, sort of. But what I do remember is the good time we had. It was fun for all of us. And when I think of Merilyn, I think she could have created the term dog on the bone. If you gave her an assignment, just move out of the way and she'd get it done. That was just the essence of her personality, and it's something that we all enjoyed. I have one quick story talking about her generosity, which so many of us have experienced. A number of years ago, my youngest daughter got married. And after the reception, Raphael and Merilyn were standing waiting on their car to come around, and another friend of mine and her college daughter were there. And they were visiting, and the daughter admired Merilyn's shoes. And they talked about where she got them, and oh, they're so cute, and I'd like to find some like that, and blah, 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 and wore the same size. Well, as Merilyn was leaving, she took her shoes off and gave them to my friend's daughter. That was just Merilyn. So I guess what I would try to leave people with is what I think about heaven. I have a lot of people in heaven, a lot of very dear people, as we all do. And since no one really knows exactly what heaven is, this is my opinion. I think heaven is a wonderful, wonderful place where those that have passed that we love are having a wonderful vacation, and all of us someday will join them on that trip to heaven. And I know when I get there that Merilyn will have everything planned out. I love this dear woman with all my heart, and I will miss her dearly. And I just pray God's grace on all of us so that we don't place blame on ourselves, or we don't hold unforgiveness for ourselves, because it accomplishes nothing. If we go forward with the memory of Merilyn and the attributes she had and the contributions she made toward life, and try to do the same thing. Just be like Merilyn. That'd be the greatest honor she could have. So thank you for letting me speak about my dear friend.
I moved to Wimberley in 2013 and to retire. And 6 months later, opened Wimberley Stitch Studio. Merilyn walked in, and I think it was 2014. I don't know exactly, and wanted to learn how to quilt. And she'd been a seamstress. She knew what she was doing. She had a good eye for that stuff. Well, I was just getting ready to open have a new quilters quilt class, and she was in it. Boy, she was excited about it. She got everybody she knew excited about it. But she brought this quilt kit in that she wanted to make that. And I said, well, you won't be starting with that one. And so she came in, she did her classes, and of course, Dog with a Bone, she excelled. She did beautifully. And it wasn't long before she got to that one. She was determined, and she never wanted to leave the quilt shop. I was in a little building, 390 square feet, and it was absolutely packed full. And she wanted to be there all the time. She wanted to come in and learn. She wanted to come in and make samples. She wanted to come in and just sit with us and do stuff with us. And I was obviously outgrowing the building. And she came to me one day and said she'd sold her house. They had sold their house in Houston, and she wanted to invest in commercial property, and it was going to be a quilt shop that I was going to move the Stitch Studio into. And we'd become such good friends. I didn't want to mess up that friendship, getting business involved, you know. And I remember going over to the cabin one evening. She invited me over, and we sat down there, and I told her how I felt. I said, I think it's a wonderful offer that, you know, helped me expand and come in and be able to be there all you want to, you know, and all of that. But I don't want to ruin our friendship, our relationship, and excuse my French. But she says, you're effing crazy if you don't. And she was right, because it never was an issue. And pretty soon we were meeting there after hours for nachos and rafaritas. And I met my husband, Rich. He started coming along too. And pretty soon the four of us were together all the time. We traveled together. We went out to eat together. We sat together during COVID. We were in a bubble together. And during the freeze of, what year was that? The Valentine's freeze, our water broke, water lines broke, electricity was off, and we had a friend come in his four-wheel drive and get us over to Merilyn and Raf's, because she would not listen. Neither one of them would listen to, we can't impose on you. And we were there for 2.5 weeks or something like that. And to Merilyn, it was a party. There was no issues. There were some water issues and stuff that happened during that, but it didn't matter to her. We had a party. We were inviting the, who all was it that came? It was, that were working, Kenny. Kenny, you're here, right? Kenny, yes. And yeah. Yes. Oh, yay! And we were cooking for them, and it was a party. It was wonderful, and that's the way my life was after Merilyn Barney entered in. She was my sister, and loved her with all my heart. After my husband Rich passed away. Again, wouldn't hear of it. I want you to come and live in the cabin down from their house. And after, that, I had to go talk to Rafael. I said, now I know what Merilyn says, but how do you feel about this? And he's got the same heart she's got. You've got Merilyn's heart. Joined together. And so she and Raph both helped me heal from Rich passing. And then I got to be there when she was having some struggles. And then after, Raph and I, her brother and sister too. I am ever so grateful for y'all being in my life. Nothing will ever be the same. And I just want to leave you with just one scripture that Merilyn and I talked about a lot. And it's kind of appropriate and not understanding sometimes the end of this life, though we know she's still alive, is trust in the Lord with all your heart and don't lean on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him and he will direct your paths. And so I encourage you in all of that. We don't understand everything, but trust him and he's gonna get you through. Thank you, Ray.
Wow. So many people. We think our lives are irrelevant, but I see all of you, and it really touches me. And if you don't think your life makes a difference, just remember this moment. Merilyn touched so many people, and she did it in so many ways. When I learned that she had died, I immediately posted my feelings. So they're kind of disjointed, but this is how I feel. Merilyn passed away on October 8th of last year, exactly 2 years and 1 day after my wife passed away. Lucy and Merilyn were really good buddies. She had a lot of good buddies. And Lucy, who was in hospice for 4 years, invited Merilyn to her Halloween celebration for her hospice team. And Merilyn made a quilt for Lucy from fabric that I had brought from Africa. And Merilyn dressed up with kind of what was it, the woman who used to sing Chiquita Banana? And she had this incredible outfit, and that's one of the photos that you see here. And Merilyn just rode right along with Lucy. They were inseparable in many ways. Merilyn was always helping people. For more than a decade, Merilyn and her husband, Rafael, took care of their aging parents. When Lucy and I first visited Merilyn and Rafael at their house, I have to tell you, it was insane. It was like a carnival. There were caregivers, there were people working at the house, there was a project going on outside, and Merilyn was at the nexus of all of that, running the show. And I had such deep admiration for her. Not everybody has the willpower to do something like that. I mean, she and Rafael really took care of her parents until they died. It's astounding. Merilyn was always making quilts for friends. I always said Merilyn would get a pass from St. Peter for all the kindness she did in her life. She was vivacious, curious, fun-loving. She had a twinkle in her eye. She loved big projects. You all know that. I mean, there wasn't a project that she didn't love. At a young age, Merilyn had seen much of the world because of her father's oil business. She had fond memories of Israel and Canada and Europe. She could swear like a trooper and love like an angel. I still will not accept that she is gone. I just won't do it. You can do that, but I'm not going to do that. I have one more story
kind of summarizes my feeling about Merilyn. One day, Merilyn and Lucy and Rafael and I decided we'd go to a movie. And it was very spontaneous. We often did things like that. And so we went to the movie, and it was one of those kind of like today, kind of cold, but it was a lot colder. And we go into the movie theater, and it was even colder. The air conditioning was on. And we're all standing there, and Merilyn says, "Are you cold?" I said, "Yeah, I'm cold." Lucy said she was cold. Raphael said, "Yeah, I'm freezing." Actually, I think he said, "I'm freezing my ass off," is what he said. And so anyway, Merilyn gets this twinkle in her eye, and she says, "The trunk." And Raphael goes, "Yeah, the trunk." And so he leaves the movie theater, and they go out, and I'm wondering, what's in the trunk? And so Raphael comes in, and he has a huge quilt. And all four of us got underneath the quilt, and we were like little teenagers laughing. It was just wonderful. And Merilyn, that was what she did. She would bring joy to people's lives. She would touch you in ways that just were astounding. Lucy loved her. I love her. And I know many of you feel the same way. She was really a very, very special woman. And I'm so grateful that she was in my life.
My name is Melissa Duran, and I met Merilyn when I was 14 years old. She was my ninth grade English teacher. I was an ESL student. I've been in the United States maybe 2 or 3 years. And none of us could speak English. I don't know if there's anybody else that was her student here today, but none of us could speak English. And she couldn't speak Spanish, really, at that time. I remember she would go on these rants. She would just talk. She would talk about art and about politics and about people. And one day we were having class, and she was talking about a story from her previous work, and she had been talking about premature babies. She was telling us how ugly premature babies were and how much they looked like monkeys and they looked like old men, and they were so fragile, and she couldn't even believe it. And I remember I stuck my head out in the row where I was sitting in the middle of the class, and he said, "Miss, you're so mean." And she looked at me and she said, "You shouldn't be in this class if you understood what I said." And she kicked me out of ESL English into regular English class. Off I went. So she was only my teacher for about, I don't know, half a semester maybe. And off I went. If she hadn't done that, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to join, as I saw with many of my classmates, to join higher level courses in high school. I went off to regular English class and graduated with honors and all sorts of fun things, just because I was able to understand that she did not like premature babies. But that tells you she was my teacher for about half a semester, and she was a best friend for a lifetime. And there was a group of us who stuck around her, and she stuck around us, and it was very interesting because before her and after her, really, this group of kids at the time, we didn't stand a chance. We were immigrant children who couldn't speak English, with from very rough backgrounds and no resources. And she would take us out to experience things that we otherwise wouldn't have ever experienced. We are talking about, and you think about it, and you're like, oh, really? You wouldn't have experienced that? No, like going to the pool. She would take us out, to pretty pools where we could swim and have parties together. And she would take us to the museum, and she would take us to the movies and places that people from our demographics didn't really have access to at the time. And She taught us how to live a different lifestyle that we would have never been able to even fathom or achieve on our own. I don't know what in her gave her that will to get a bunch of strays, because that's what we were, like a bunch of stray cats, and just make them a family. She gave us the opportunity to not only live but thrive in a place where we didn't belong. And she let us belong in this world that a lot of people didn't think we could even make it in. And seeing people from our school, like old classmates, and how they live in their lives and what this group of us were able to accomplish in having this American dream was all Merilyn. It was all Merilyn. She gave us time. She gave us space. She gave us all the opportunities that otherwise we wouldn't have been able to have throughout a lifetime. And I don't know why she did that. She was just great. She was the best person that I know. And I say that as, coming from a very conservative Christian family, and she wasn't necessarily that, and I can tell you that I know so many kinds of people from all backgrounds, thanks to the lifestyle that I was able to acquire because of her. And she is still the best person that I know from everywhere. She's still the best person that I know. She was a friend. She was a sister. She was a mother for many, many people that I don't see here today. You have no idea the type of family that Merilyn has, because she was just great. She was just such a great person. I love her very much. There's so many things, so many stories. I was Charlie's and Francis's main caregiver for about 10 years. So maybe I know too much. But I love her, and I loved Mama, and I loved Charlie because they were great. And I thank you for letting me just share that. My husband does have some eloquent words as well here.
Not eloquent at all. I'm actually not very good at public speaking, but I felt like the opportunity calls for it. It's so important for us, the influence that she had in our lives. I think my wife pretty much said it all already. I do want to say I met her a little bit after when I met Melissa and her group of friends. I unfortunately had learned English a little bit before, but like most things in my life come through my wife. She came in and she kind of just accepted me as a kind of like another person who was in this group of friends, and I got to live a lot of these experiences that my wife speaks about. The one thing I do want to say is I remember whenever she was first, I guess, trying to sell the idea to Melissa of moving over here, because she wanted to move over here when her parents, got a little sick. And I remember she invited us over for a weekend, and we were in the house right here at 300 Cypress, and she was telling us how nice the area was and how pretty everything was. And I remember she told us this story, and we were looking out the kitchen window, Rafael, into the creek. And it was a very nice, bright, sunny day. It was spring. Everything looked colorful and just a pretty picture out the window. She was telling us a story about how she had seen a fox come out of her burrow and, just meander around her property. And she made this gesture like she was pretending to be a fox. And it was the most spot on fox impression I had ever seen. And we all just got such a big laugh out of it. And there's this incredible sadness that I feel, because I feel like you can never express the gratitude you have for people enough. And although the chaos always increases in our lives, right, as time goes on, sometimes it hits me on my drives home that we've lost this person that was so invested in just us finding happiness. And I have to refer back to that memory of when, everything just looked bright and sunny, and she was laughing and we were in her kitchen. And that's how I choose to remember her. When everything was just clear pastures ahead on a bright sunny day with pretty flowers, that's the picture I have of her in my mind. Thank you all for listening. And, Rafael?
Thank you.
These words came to me via Facebook Messenger, and it's from someone who can't attend today. It was one of Merilyn's childhood friends, Stacy Kiser. Dear friends and family of Merilyn's, the only way I know how to do this is to speak to Merilyn directly. Dear Merilyn, I have to say these things directly to you, as if we were talking, and actually I know on some level we are. Our two families were destined to meet, entwine, fall in love, and carry on till death did we part. Our parents, our siblings, and especially you and me. We didn't get to see and be with each other nearly enough, but somehow space and time were irrelevant to the connection I felt with you. I so miss you not being in this world with me, that we are now challenged by a new space and dimension. And I trust we will manage. This was not our first karmic rodeo together, and certainly not our last, and so it was for our families. I want to tell you how much I love your smile, your crinkly face when every molecule goes into expressing your inner joy. A joy based on plumbing the depths of all that can be inflicted and endured on us poor humans, yet reaping the resilience and ability to carry on. To be an inspiration for perseverance and an example of loving the whole catastrophe, as our friend Zorba the Greek proclaimed. I could go on. Your smile, your talents, your sense of justice, and that deep ability to feel and to go beyond the extra mile for those you love. How blessed were we. I want to end by sharing a shining example of her ability to feel. Unfortunately, you're not able to tell yourself like you told me that first time. I can still hear your storytelling and the uncontrollable laughter and tears it brought. This is the story of Duncan and Molly, the two baby ducks I brought home for Mom and Dad as an antidote to the sad truth that my mother was dying. We kept them in a cardboard box in the den for as long as possible, probably longer than we should have. But ultimately, Duncan and Molly were destined to go live out their days at Kim Lake. And of course, being raised in a cardboard box in suburban Houston did not equip them with the skills to survive the wilds of Kim Lake. But they did for a while and became better ducks because of it. One day, Mom and Dad wanted to come see Duncan and Molly. Unfortunately, they had met their demise, but you couldn't bear having my parents see the ducks were gone. So off you went to find, then buy a pair of white, fluffy adult ducks. Then the night before, they too met their maker. And off you went again to find and buy a second pair of ducks, which got released just hours before they came out for the visit. Well, their report was conveyed to me back in Montana with much joy. When I later heard the rest of the story told in your wonderful way, I laughed and laughed and cried that you did so much to bring my suffering parents so much joy. I will thank you forever and ever, my dear friend. Please give Mom and Dad and Francis and Charlie my love. Keep plenty for yourself, hopefully from up there and with your uncanny ability to make things happen. Please help untangle this troubled, silly world that we are left to navigate without you by our side. You are the woman for the job. I love you, Merilyn. Signed, Stacy Kiser. So if there are no other comments, this concludes our sharing. Please continue to meet and greet, and if there's any food left, oh, no, but there's some desserts over there if you'd like. I think it's come off quite splendidly. Thank you very much.